Symphony No. 2. One of my favorite team archetypes in Pokemon V, GC, is Perish Trap. This archetype combines the ability Shadow Tag, which prevents the opponents from switching out with the move Perish song, which KOs all Pokemon who were on the field when the move was used in a 3-turn timer. At first, this might seem a very easy and strong strategy, but it's not really that simple. Firstly, the ability Shadow Tag only prevents manual switches, which does not include switching via switching moves like Flip Turn, Volt Switch, Parting Shot, and U-Turn, which have been very strong in VGC history, especially in later generations, thanks to Incineroar and Rillaboom, allowing these popular Pokemon to switch out and reset the Perish counter. Secondly, Ghost-type Pokemon are immune to all forms of trapping moves, which includes Shadow Tag, allowing Ghost types to switch out and cleans their Perish song counter. Thirdly, if the Shadow Tag Pokemon is KO'd during the timer, the opponents are both free to leave and you lose your win condition, effectively losing you the game on the spot. These are all very big counters to the strategy, but the final counter isn't even by the opponents. The biggest restriction for Perish Trap is the Pokemon that learn Perish Song and Shadow Tag. There is a total of 3 Pokemon that get Shadow Tag Wobblefab, who isn't legal or good because it can't learn Protect, Mega Ginger, who is great but not legal, and Gothitelle, who is good but has been power crapped a lot because it came out in Gen 5. And Perish Song users are also rare. There are some good Pokemon that learn it like Politoad, Lapras, and Primarina. There are also Pokemon like Wigglytuff. Until Generation 9, that is, we were introduced to not 1 but 2 new Perish Song users, both of them being ancient Paradox Pokemon Screamtail and Fluttermane. Fluttermane, for example, is in the top 3 best Pokemon of Generation 9. Arguably number 1, it has been number 1 in usage in multiple formats. There is a couple of reasons Fluttermane is so good. Firstly, it has really good stats being crazy fast and strong. Secondly, it good typing being very good defensively and almost impossible to resist both of its offensive typees. Thirdly, a very deep move pool including moves like Icy Wind, Taunt, Thunder Wave, Fake Tears, Helping Hand, Pain Split, and of course Perish Song. And the second new Perish Song user is, although not able to top Fluttermane, it's arguably a stronger Perish Song user thanks to it having the good defensive typing of Psychic and Fairy, also min-maxed stats but in speed and defensive, which is perfect for Perish Trap. Since you won't be doing a lot of damage, it also had a very deep supportive move pool with moves like Encore, Disable, and Trick Room, which is exactly why this story came to be. This is the story of the team that won the European International Championships in Italy. First, I need to tell you about the format. This year, the European Championship is in Regulation F. Regulation F banned the restricted legendaries but kept all the regular legendaries. But even though it might seem like a low-power format thanks to there being no restricted Pokemon, nothing is less true. This format is very top-heavy and is dominated by Pokemon like Urshifu, Fluttermane, Ogerpon, and Raging Bolt, all broken Pokemon. All of these new Pokemon with their broken stats and abilities are crowding out a lot of more fun and unique Pokemon, which is exactly why it's so weird that the European Championship was won by the strategy Perish Trap. That's why the story starts with the humble goal of building a fun Perish Trap team. You see, I built this team because I just wanted to use this strategy, and I wanted to try out the new Perish Song users Screamtail and Fluttermane. Fluttermane is one of the strongest Pokemon in the format. Sorry, no, I mean ever created. It has crazy min-maxed stats with a whopping base 135 speed, special attack, and special defense. These stats allow for a ton of customization, one of Fluttermane's strongest aspects. You can either choose to invest in its speed and special attack, making it a fast and frail special attacker, or you can invest in its weaker stats to help it stay alive and use its incredible move pool to disrupt, slow down, and just KO opponents. Earlier in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Fluttermane would be used with choice specs, or a special attack booster energy. Later, people tried it with speed booster energy to outspeed other Fluttermane and other really fast Pokemon, like Scarfed Pokemon, or naturally fast Pokemon, like Dragapult, Calyrex Shadow Rider, and Chien Pao. There were even more different sets. I have seen Leftovers, Substitute, or Calm Mind Fluttermane. Later in this format, people discovered that with booster energy, you don't need to invest any EVs into speed, And if you use it for support, you can afford to make your Flutter Mane crazy bulky. They made a base 55 HP Pokemon look and feel bulky. These Flutter Mane would run support moves like Thunder Wave and Icy Wind for speed control, Taunt for disruption, or Pain Split to heal themselves. Flutter Mane has been in contention for the best Pokemon of every format it's been legal in, and has consistently been a top 3 usage Pokemon. The next new Perish Song user is Screamtail, a Pokemon that has very little usage, but for Perish Trap is arguably even stronger for the strategy specifically. Let me explain. Although Flutter Mane has great stats to be offensive, defensive, or supportive, Screamtail has stats that only make it good as a support Pokemon. But it's one of the few fast and bulky support Pokemon. It has great natural speed and the bulk and supportive typing to stay on the field for a while, using support moves like Encore, Disable, Light Screen, Reflect, or Perish Song. So I start building my team. I add both Screamtail and Flutter Mane with Perish Song. Next, I add Gothitelle, the only good Shadow Tag user, and for support I use Incineroar and Amoonguss, which are classic support Pokemon for Perish Trap. Finally, I try both Raging Bolt and Urshifu for a potential 6th Pokemon. And I just keep on losing. I try out different sets and moves, but it does not work. The format is very strong and offensive, especially opposing Urshifu and Flutter Mane. One of the only reasons Perish Trap is even slightly reliable is the move Protect, and Urshifu can just hit right through it, making it very difficult to protect my Gothitelle. And Flutter Mane, as a ghost type, can just ignore Shadow Tag, switching in freely with no issues. It also threatens my entire Perish core with super effective damage, since they are all weak to Ghost. But those weren't the only problems in this format. This format was also run by the fake-out buddies Incineroar and Rillaboom, who both use switching moves and therefore create even more Pokemon that can freely switch. Other strategies that just overwhelmed my defenses with offense, like Saispam and Tornadus hyper-offense teams, proved to be very hard to beat as well. But I just keep trying to force this team to work and make Perish Trap work. I give Urshifu the Choice Scarf to outspeed and KO Flutter Mane, and Flutter Mane the Focus Sash to hopefully tank a Saispam hit and threaten back, or to tank an opposing Flutter Mane Shadow Ball and threaten back. I could try the Booster Energy on Flutter Mane, but it's stuck on Screamtail, right? But all the Flutter Mane just became too bulky and fast thanks to Booster Energy. My Urshifu would still get outsped and one-hit KO'd, and my Flutter Mane would just get KO'd by opposing fast Urshifu with Choice Scarf, or even Focus Sash. Urshifu tanking a Moonblast and then KOing through the Focus Sash with Surging Strikes. My support Pokemon also weren't really working since they had to carry every matchup together, which isn't very possible. I tried to make them jack-of-all-trades Pokemon, but that's equal to being a master of none. I was on a bus trip with Echo, talking about the team and telling him how hard I had tried to make it work, and they said, "Damn, you just need more items. If only your Urshifu had the Focus Sash and your Flutter Mane the Booster Energy." Which got me thinking, do I really need the Booster Energy on Screamtail? I mean, sure, I won't outspeed Scarfed Urshifu anymore, or opposing Flutter Mane, but do I really need to? Yes, this is a Perish Trap team. The Perish Song Pokemon should have priority, which is when Echo said something that echoed through my head. What if it's a balanced team with a side dish of Perish Trap? And I started testing and building, and everything started moving into place. Flutter Mane received the Booster Energy and became bulky, dropping Perish Song for Icy Wind. Urshifu lost its Choice Scarf, gaining Protect and the Focus Sash. Screamtail instead got the Mental Herb. I was also able to specialize my support Pokemon, like Shukaberry for Incineroar to help against Landorus and Ursaluna, and Terra Dark on Amoonguss for the Saispam matchup. And the team finally started working, and I was having the time of my life. My Flutter Mane and Urshifu were finally doing what they were designed to do, counter the anti-Perish Trap Pokemon. But they were doing more. They were countering a lot of Pokemon. All of them. So let me show you the team that won the European International Championships 2026 in Italy. Starting with Screamtail, the Perish part in Perish Trap, and the only Perish Song Pokemon on the team. And the best Perish Song user ever created, exceeding even Mega Gengar in my opinion, who gets both Shadow Tag and Perish Song. Screamtail obviously learned Perish Song and Protect, and for the final move, options were vast. Screamtail learned so many good support moves, and it's one of the most customizable parts of this team in my opinion, but I went with the classic Encore and Disable. I chose Screamtail for a couple of reasons. First, Urshifu. If I can disable Surging Strikes, it doesn't do a lot of damage anymore, and if it's Scarfed, it will be forced to struggle. The second reason is because of Rillaboom and Incineroar. These Pokemon would often use Fake Out and a switching move. With Encore and Disable, Screamtail would be able to either disable Parting Shot and U-turn or Encore anything else. In general, the moves were also just great because I could Encore foes into not very effective moves or disable the really strong moves. Next, the item. I had the Booster Energy, but it was needed elsewhere. Screamtail again has great options, Leftovers, Covert Cloak, or Citrus Berry. But the best one is the Mental Herb. Even though Leftovers or Covert Cloak might be better in some situations, I needed Mental Herb to even give me a chance in others. Whimsicott and Tornadus combine their Prankster ability with the move Taunt. Taunting Screamtail makes it fully useless, but with the Mental Herb they can taunt turn 1, I use Perish Song, they can taunt after, but I can just switch or protect. Taunt also became more common on Pokemon, like Urshifu, Ogerpon, and the fast Flutter Mane I talked about. That's the reason I chose the Mental Herb. The Terra type I chose was Ghost, which was important for turn 1 Fake Out pressure. If I could successfully go Ghost to block the Fake Out and use Perish Song, next turn I could Encore them, making it a 2 versus 1 with a 3-turn counter. It also helped against Steel and Poison type attacks, but mostly this Terra type was for that Fake Out immunity, especially since Screamtail was a prominent Fake Out target. For the stats, I started with Speed and invested fully, even with a timid nature to boost my speed. This is to outspeed Ogerpon without the booster energy by a single point. This Screamtail used to just be 252 speed and 252 HP, which was fine for the latter, but I ended up taking some of its HP and investing it into special defense, allowing me to still survive Iron Hand's Heavy Slam and rain-boosted Surging Strikes, but now also survive Choice Specs Flutter Mane Shadow Ball. These were some of the strongest attacks in the format. Combined with Encore and Disable, this Screamtail was so hard to get rid of that it sometimes even won games in a 2v1 by just spamming Encore and Disable, forcing the opponents to struggle. It was nicknamed Gigloss because at first the funny puffball just doesn't do a lot, or at least that's what you think, until it sings a song that makes you perish in 3 turns or forces you to fucking struggle. But it keeps giggling while making you lose. That's why Gigloss. Get it? The next Pokemon to talk about is none other than Gothitelle, the only Pokemon with Shadow Tag, and the only Pokemon on the team who hasn't gone through huge changes. Gothitelle's idea was very basic. It's most important that Gothitelle stays alive and well for 3 turns. It's the most crucial piece because even though the move Perish Song has to be used, in theory Screamtail only needs to be on the field for a single turn to use it. Meanwhile, Gothitelle has to be on the field for a minimum of 3 turns, and even if you play perfectly, this is a lot harder than it seems. Which is exactly why every decision on this Pokemon, from moves to Terra type to stats, is all for survival and surviving as optimally as possible with the resources we have. The first 2 moves were no-brainers with the goal of survival in mind: Fake Out and Protect. Fake Out is crucial for Gothitelle because it's a priority move that's guaranteed to flinch the opponent. It's effectively a pseudo-protect, allowing you to stun one of the opponents while the Perish timer counts down. This 1 turn can also be used with Screamtail to help it set up Perish Song. Even stronger is that you cannot use Protect twice in a row consistently, but you can Fake Out into Protect. For example, you can lead Incineroar plus Screamtail, turn 1 use Perish Song and Parting Shot into Gothitelle. Perish counter, 3. Turn 2, Gothitelle uses Fake Out on the most threatening Pokemon while Screamtail does anything. Perish counter falls to 2. Turn 3, Gothitelle and Screamtail protect. Perish counter falls to 1 and you are free to switch. Fake Out is one of the strongest moves in the game, and luckily it works really well with Perish Trap. And Protect is obviously necessary to stall as many turns as possible. For the next move, I knew I wanted Gothitelle to have an attacking move to still be able to do some damage, because I don't want people to be able to just ignore Gothitelle while it's on the field. Even though Gothitelle doesn't do a lot of damage thanks to its low attacking stats, being able to deal damage at all is very important to break or finish off Focus Sash Pokemon, or for Pokemon who are weak to Gothitelle. The strongest stab move Gothitelle learns is Psychic. Other options are Foul Play or Psyshock, but I think Psychic is the strongest one for Pokemon like Iron Hands, and, most importantly, Urshifu Rapid Strike. Thanks to the move Psychic, Gothitelle is actually able to win the 1 vs 1 against Urshifu Rapid Strike. The final move on Gothitelle is Taunt. Taunt prevents the opponent from using status moves. It's mainly here for 2 very important reasons. Firstly, Incineroar has a really good matchup into Gothitelle because it's immune to Psychic and can hit Gothitelle for super effective damage with Knock Off. It's also able to switch out of Shadow Tag with Parting Shot. But Parting Shot is a status move, and since Gothitelle is naturally 5 points faster than Incineroar, I could pretty reliably taunt Parting Shot, forcing even Incineroar to hear the Perish song. Next, Amoonguss. After playing with the team, Amoonguss ended up being kind of annoying for my team since it's able to put Pokemon to sleep, and sleeping Pokemon can't protect, setting them up to be KO'd easily. But Spore and Rage Powder are all status moves, which Gothitelle can once again taunt before Amoonguss even moves, effectively making it useless thanks to Shadow Tag. And since, spoiler alert, my Incineroar won't be holding safety goggles, my Amoonguss matchup was getting a little tough. The item was an instant click. I already told you Gothitelle is able to win the 1 vs 1 against Urshifu Rapid Strike with Psychic, but that's only true because of the extra 25% HP the Citrus Berry gives Gothitelle. Since Gothitelle only needed to be on the field for 3 turns, the burst healing of Citrus Berry was always better than Leftovers, which is another item commonly used on bulky Pokemon. I honestly don't know what else to say about this item. It just made Gothitelle 25% bulkier and 100% better. Since all I needed was survival, this was the perfect choice. For the Terra type, I needed help against Torkoal's Sun under Trick Room, Chi-Yu, Urshifu Rapid Strike, yes, even more, and rain strategies. And I ended up going with Water, which is very good in this format, and Water typing is a must-have if you wish to Perish Trap Urshifu Rapid Strike. Torkoal in the Sun was also becoming a bad matchup since it undersped all my Pokemon in Trick Room and hit my strongest Trick Room counter, Amoonguss, for super effective damage. With Terra Water and the Citrus Berry, Gothitelle is able to take 3 full power, sun-boosted eruptions, which not a lot of Pokemon are able to say. It also helped immensely against Chi-Yu because of the dark weakness before terastallizing. The stats. The idea was not for Gothitelle to survive specific things. The idea was for Gothitelle to survive everything. Force the opponent to dedicate multiple turns to try and get rid of Gothitelle, while Gothitelle becomes closer and closer to clocking out because her Perish Shift rank ended. On the special side, Gothitelle can survive Chi-Yu Dark Pulse and a Choice Specs Flutter Mane Shadow Ball. On the physical side, Gothitelle is trained to survive Chien-Pao Crunches, and 2 of them when Intimidate is in the picture. And Gothitelle, after Terra Water with the Citrus Berry, is able to take a whopping 4 Surging Strikes. Without Terra, Gothitelle is able to take 2 Surging Strikes comfortably, but when the opposing Urshifu uses Terra Water or Stellar, Gothitelle is still able to survive 2 Surging Strikes thanks to the Citrus Berry. Damn, even while writing this, she's one bulky lady. The nickname is Linchpin. A linchpin in real life is a pin that can lock something, but when this pin is removed, the entire structure falls apart. It's often used metaphorically for a person, idea, or component that holds an entire system, plan, or organization together. And when I learned this, I knew it was a perfect nickname for Gothitelle, because she is the linchpin for my Perish core. If Gothitelle faints, the opponents can switch out of the Perish song countdown, and I won't be threatening much damage anymore with my support Pokemon. The next Pokemon is none other than the GOAT, Insin. Roar! the GOAT of VGC, the Pokemon that is better than every single other Pokemon ever made, and is not even really close. Incineroar is the first support Pokemon, and Incineroar is the perfect fit for Perish Trap. First of all, the typing of Fire and Dark works very well with both Screamtail and Gothitelle because Incineroar resists Ghost and Dark. Especially the Ghost resistance is important because Ghost types are able to switch out of Shadow Tag, so they pose a big threat against Perish Trap. The Fire typing is also nice against Sun teams. Incineroar is also good into other Incineroars. Intimidate is also very strong for Perish Trap because it's simply a way to reduce damage, although it doesn't work against Urshifu. It is very good into Pokemon like Incineroar, Rillaboom, Qianpao, and Ogerpon. The third reason Incineroar is such a perfect fit for Perish Trap is its move pool. Incineroar gets Fake Out, the same as Gothitelle, but when you have two Fake Out users, the move becomes way stronger because you can use the first Fake Out Pokemon to bait out Protect, while you switch in your second Fake Out Pokemon for a free Fake Out plus anything you want. Incineroar also learns Parting Shot. Parting Shot is a move that switches Incineroar out while lowering the target's special and physical attack stats. It's really useful because Incineroar is relatively slow, allowing Incineroar to soak some hits and switch out after so the more frail or weaker Pokemon can switch in without taking any hits. The combination of these two moves is very strong. I'll give you another example. Turn 1, you lead with Screamtail and Gothitelle. Fake out the threat plus Perish Song. Counter on 3, turn 2, you switch Screamtail into Incineroar and protect Gothitelle. Counter on 2. Turn 3, you switch out Gothitelle. Wait, what? The counter is on 2. The opponent is free to switch out. But Incineroar takes all the damage like a champ, uses Parting Shot, and Gothitelle comes back with no damage taken and its Perish counter is cleansed. Turn 4, you are set up for a free double protect and watch your foes faint to music. I obviously used both these moves, but the third move I really wanted was Protect for Perish Song endgames. I never explained why all Pokemon on a Perish Song team need Protect. A position you will find yourself in often is with 3 Pokemon left while your opponent has 2 left. In this situation, you only have to set up the Perish counter because if all your Pokemon learn Protect, you can turn 1 double Protect and wait for the timer. Even if the opponents KO both your Pokemon, your final Pokemon can just Protect and stall out the final turn to win the game. So Incineroar has to learn Protect here. Most Incineroar don't have Protect because the natural bulk of Incineroar means it is not often threatened. And when Incineroar is threatened, it most of the time wants to switch out to reset Intimidate and Fake Out. But for this specific win condition, I need Protect on this Incineroar. The final move is Knock Off, Incineroar's strongest Dark-type stab move that also has the strong utility of removing the item of the target. It is very strong into Ghost and Psychic types, and the item removal is very strong, for example removing Assault Vest, Citrus Berries, or Choice Scarves. The other option was Flare Blitz, and for the longest time I thought I had to use Knock Off for the utility and no drawback. But after I looked at the team with a more critical eye, I chose Flare Blitz. Flare Blitz is a 120 base power fire-type move that does 33% recoil. The reason I chose Flare Blitz instead of Knock Off is because of Flutter Mane. Leading up to the European International Championships, a specific Flutter Mane set became very popular, a bulky Flutter Mane with booster energy. Since the booster energy gets used up when Flutter Mane enters the field, Knock Off is stuck at a pitiful 65 base power, while Flare Blitz is still 120 base power. While Knock Off is a 3-hit KO, Flare Blitz is a 2-hit KO, but more importantly, after a Flare Blitz, Terra Water Aqua Jet from Urshifu will pick up the knockout on this bulky Flutter Mane set. Flare Blitz also proved useful into Rillaboom, Qianpao, and Amoonguss. Also, this Flutter Mane set isn't the only one that doesn't care about Knock Off. There is Booster Energy Raging Bolt, Ogerpon, Iron Jugulis, Iron Hands, Iron Bundle, Iron Treads, basically all the Paradox Pokemon, really. Meanwhile, Flare Blitz is able to actually do meaningful chip damage for Urshifu and Flutter Mane. For the item, for the longest time I had Safety Goggles, a staple on Incineroar and a very strong item that helps against Amoonguss, as well as other Rage Powder, Sleep Powder, or Spore users. But there was one Pokemon that kept being very threatening whenever I wanted to Perish Trap Landorus Incarnate. Landorus has been picking up in usage a lot because of the sheer force ability plus the Life Orb. It's able to do insane damage with Earth Power and Sludge Bomb into my Perish Pokemon. I really needed to Parting Shot it to lower its special attack, but Landorus would easily just Earth Power my Incineroar for a free KO, and I don't want to dedicate my Terra every single time I face a Landorus. So I added the Shuka Berry. This halves the damage of super effective ground-type attacks, allowing Incineroar to easily take the Earth Power and then use Parting Shot into Landorus, lowering its special attack, making the Perish Trap cycle a lot easier. The Shuka Berry drastically changed my matchup into Landorus Incarnate, but it also helped against Landorus Therian in both Ursaluna forms. The Terra type was simple. Incineroar's most used Terra type is Ghost to Dodge Fake Out and is a general good defensive typing. But I need Terra Grass for help against my Amoonguss matchup, Urshifu, yes, even more. Sleep Powder and Rage Powder Pokemon, and Ogerpon Wellspring. Very important because it's a physical attacker who I want to intimidate. And although it's doubling up, it's very nice into Landorus Incarnate. Although weak to poison, having the Shuka Berry to stall a potential Terra and then using Terra Grass when Incineroar is still threatened lets Incineroar become safe again. For the stats, I definitely needed a lot of bulk on Incineroar. Honestly, for the bulk spread, I just picked one of Wolf's spreads, and I never really needed to change it. It survived the moves I needed it to. The important thing about Incineroar's stats is the speed. I had a fast Incineroar at first. That helps because knocking off an Assault Vest or a Citrus Berry right before Gothitelle uses Psychic can be very useful. But when I took off Knockoff, I actually lost a game because my Parting Shot was faster than the opposing Incineroars. So I couldn't bring in Gothitelle safely again because I would just get hit by Knockoff, losing the linchpin. So I went back to absolute minimum speed, which is also more optimal for close Perish Song endgames where the slowest Pokemon faints last. I also have to run a speed-lowering nature with minimum IVs because I really don't want to speed tie opposing Farigiraf and Incineroar because of the linchpin situations. I nicknamed Incineroar the Director, which is basically what I call all my Incineroars because he is the director, giving everyone instructions and putting everyone into position while smiling in the backline. Incineroar is just the perfect Pokemon for Perish Trap. The next Pokemon is Amoonguss, one of the strongest and most consistent Pokemon in VGC history. While Incineroar puts everyone in the right position, Amoonguss makes sure they stay there and do their job right. Amoonguss learns the ever-frustrating move, Spore, a 100% accurate sleep move. Putting a Pokemon to sleep gives you one turn for sure where they can't move. The second turn is a 1 in 3 chance they wake up. The third turn is a 1 in 2 chance, and on the fourth turn they are finally guaranteed to move again. Since Amoonguss has great natural bulk, it's very hard to get rid of before it can use Spore, and Spore can be very important to make sure my Urshifu, Gothitelle, or Fluttermane get off the moves they need to. Spore also works really well since all my Pokemon learn Protect, so I can protect Amoonguss's partner while using Spore on a threat. Amoonguss also learns the move Rage Powder, another version of Follow Me, forcing all foes to target Amoonguss instead of its partner, which can be very useful to redirect strong moves and protect Gothitelle to keep the Perish counter alive. And since Amoonguss has good defensive typing in Grass and Poison, Amoonguss resists a lot of important attacks that other Pokemon are weak to, like Surging Strikes, Close Combat, Moonblast, and Thunderclap. Amoonguss has the perfect complementary typing for this team specifically, and combining that with the move Rage Powder becomes infinitely more valuable than any other redirector. For the next move, you saw it coming. I need Protect for specific Perish setups. This is also useful because Amoonguss can actually use the support of Incineroar. Yes, that's how good of a support Pokemon Incineroar is. It supports the supports. By protecting Amoonguss and switching its partner to Incineroar, you have a free Fake Out plus Spore, which is amplified thanks to having 2 Fake Out Pokemon. The last move should be Pollen Puff, a 90 base power bug type move, but the damage isn't the main thing here. It's the secondary effect that matters. It heals Amoonguss's partner for 50% of their total HP, which is exactly why I'm not using it. No, in my opinion, Amoonguss has a better option in Sludge Bomb, a 90 base power poison move that does not heal 50% of the target. But because Amoonguss is a poison type and Sludge Bomb is a poison move, it gets a 50% same type attack bonus, or stab for short, letting this move actually deal damage. And since Amoonguss's main moves, Spore and Rage Powder, are ignored by grass types, and grass types are weak to poison, and there are a lot of prominent grass types in the game right now, Amoonguss becomes a serious offensive threat into Pokemon like Rillaboom, Ogerpon Wellspring, and Whimsicott. So Sludge Bombs became necessary since my Perish Core isn't offensive at all, and my balance mode isn't just the damage from Urshifu and Flutter Mane. It's also one of the reasons I added Flare Blitz over Knockoff. For the item, at first I had Mental Herb and Citrus Berry, but the right item here has to be the Covert Cloak. It makes the user immune to all secondary effects of moves, which includes random freezes, paralysis, or burns, but most importantly, the flinching from Fake Out. This move effectively turns Amoonguss into the Disruption anti-disruption Pokemon, which means Amoonguss loves to disrupt the opponents, and it's able to do this even better with the Terra type of Dark. Terra Dark was chosen for Amoonguss because I was having a lot of trouble against Psyspam teams. I need Amoonguss to slow them down with Spore and Trick Room, but since Amoonguss is weak to Psychic and does not take a Psychic terrain-boosted Expanding Force very well, Terra Dark gives Amoonguss an immunity to Psychic-type moves, letting it freely click Spore every turn. Terra Dark is also very useful against Prankster Taunt Pokemon like Whimsicott and Tornadus, since Dark types are immune to Prankster moves. Allowing Amoonguss to block even more disruption since it can also redirect Prankster-boosted moves into itself with Terra Dark to block moves like Encore or Thunder Wave. The stats on Amoonguss are, in general, just to be as bulky as possible, maximizing HP. The physical and special defense EVs are trained to survive the strongest super effective hits in Chi-Yu Heatwave and Qianpao Icicle Crash after an Intimidate from Incineroar. These were both fast attackers who really did not want to get slept, and Amoonguss living these big attacks often allowed me to spore them anyway, lowering the opponent's damage output by a ton. I also chose to run minimum speed on Amoonguss with a speed-lowering nature for two reasons. First, inside Trick Room, Amoonguss would be even slower, which is important for the Trick Room Psyspam matchup to underspeed Pokemon like Indeedee. Also, not lowering Amoonguss's speed doesn't really have any drawbacks since it won't outspeed anything anyway. The second reason is for Perish Trap endgames. Having minimum speed Amoonguss is really helpful in Perish Trap endgames since Amoonguss is one of the slowest Pokemon in the game. Amoonguss was nicknamed Firewall Fungi because Amoonguss is the firewall for my team. You really have to get through it to beat my team. The Anti-Disruption Pokemon. This Pokemon is honestly the MVP of my team. It was the most important Pokemon for holding my bad matchups together and my sanity, since it lowered the game turning into gambling thanks to all of its good support. Even though it's not one of my attackers, it was way more important. Its support was what made the team thrive. And even though it's not very strong, the fact that there are just a lot of good grass types in the format means that Sludge Bomb is actually very scary offensively. The next Pokemon on the team is also the first of the second mode of the team, and Loki the main mode of the team, the Balance mode. And the first Pokemon in this mode, besides the support as Pokemon, is also the strongest Pokemon introduced in Scarlet and Violet and a terrible singer, Flutter Mane. Flutter Mane started on this team as a Perish Song user, but after dropping Perish Song, Flutter Mane was able to reach her true potential. Her moves are very easy. Moonblast is one of the best moves in the game and just great Fairy Stab. Shadow Ball is great, reliable Ghost Stab, and very important for the mirror matchup into other Flutter Manes, as well as Ghost types who threaten the Perish Trap mode. Protect is because this team has a Perish Trap mode. All Pokemon must learn Protect, including Flutter Mane, although Flutter Mane would have learned Protect anyway since she needs to protect herself. And finally, Icy Wind, because my team was lacking speed control like crazy, and this is my final attempt to add it anyway. For the item, she holds the booster energy to boost her speed, which is very important because even though Flutter Mane has a very high natural speed stat, the booster energy allows you to take that to really high levels. For example, Choice Scarf Urshifu, a big threat to Flutter Mane, is now always getting outsped and always dying to Moonblast, and of course all the other speed booster energy Pokemon. So far, Flutter Mane has been a very standard set, using its good stats, moves, typing, and access to booster energy to do damage and provide speed control. But this is where my Flutter Mane becomes different from the rest. The Terra type. Most Flutter Mane use Terra Fairy to boost their fairy moves, but I didn't need more damage. If I stay alive longer, I can also deal more damage. And I wanted more help against Urshifu because this Flutter Mane's main job is beating the evil bear. And help against Amoonguss, but more importantly, help against the combination of these two Pokemon. I chose Terra Grass. First, this is good into Urshifu because it obviously resists Surging Strikes and Aqua Jet. Secondly, it's good into Amoonguss because I no longer get slept, which a lot of people like to do to my Flutter Mane because Amoonguss generally has a good matchup into Flutter Mane, resisting fairy moves. And since Flutter Mane is naturally frail, setting her up to be KO'd later, with Terra Grass you can ignore the Spore and just do your thing. And finally, the combination of these two. A lot of people who use Scarfed Urshifu into Flutter Mane pair Urshifu with Amoonguss. Then they use Rage Powder to redirect a potential Moonblast, while Surging Strikes targets either Flutter Mane or her partner. With Terra Grass, Flutter Mane can now ignore the Rage Powder and KO the Urshifu before it moves with Moonblast. For the stats, I wanted Flutter Mane to be bulky enough to survive important hits, but strong enough to still get KOs. On the physical side, I trained Flutter Mane to survive 2 Incineroar Flare Blitzes after Intimidate. A lot of people try to chip Flutter Mane down with a move and then use strong physical attacks to finish it off, but now you have to do way more damage to finish it off. In Incineroar, one of the most important physical attackers, Flutter Mane now being able to stay on the field facing it very comfortably is very important. Also, since Incineroar is often paired with Amoonguss and Urshifu, after Terra Grass Flutter Mane will still survive a Flare Blitz thanks to Intimidate. And on the special side, I needed Flutter Mane to survive a special attack Booster Energy Shadow Ball from opposing Flutter Mane to help me win the mirror matchup. And for the speed, I needed to at least outspeed Ogerpon and Tornadus without the speed booster energy to use Icy Wind and lower their speed, or just get a strong attack off. The leftover EVs I dumped into her special attack, which allows Flutter Mane to 2-hit KO Assault Vest Raging Bolt. The strong part about Flutter Mane is how versatile she is. She can do good damage with very strong moves into the meta. She can survive and tank hits, provide utility with Terra Grass against Sleep Powder and Spore Pokemon, and use Icy Wind to lower the foe's speed stats to let my other Pokemon move first, which is why she is named Wind Condition, because of Icy Wind and the fact that she is the only speed control on this team. And Wind Condition is a wordplay on Wind Condition because if Flutter Mane wasn't being brought in the lead, it was often a win condition thanks to its bulk and good stab moves. The final Pokemon on the team is the most evil Pokemon on the team, and also the Pokemon my entire team is kitted to beat, Urshifu Rapid Strike. A good companion to Flutter Mane because it has different typing and hits the opponent's physical defense instead of their special defense. And that's exactly the reason I added it. The combination of its broken ability that lets you hit through Protect, great offensive typing, complementary strong moves with Surging Strikes, which hits 3 times and always crits, letting it ignore the biggest drawback of being a physical attacker, Intimidate, and Close Combat, one of the strongest moves in the game, alongside its good offensive stats, make it an incredible Pokemon. I would like to fill a lot of pages with Urshifu's part, but I don't know if that's possible because this Urshifu set is very straightforward. Firstly, the moveset. Surging Strikes and Close Combat are the strongest stab moves. Surging Strikes hits 3 times and always crits, letting it ignore attack drops, which is important against Intimidate. It can even KO Pokemon through Focus Sash because it hits 3 times. Close Combat is a very strong 120 base power move, important against normal types and dark types. It does lower the user's defense, but there will be a solution for that later. Urshifu is actually the only Pokemon on the team without Protect because instead it has Detect, a different version of Protect that prevents all damage when used, including damage from poison or burn. And the final move is Aqua Jet. The priority is very important because the team does kind of lack speed control, and priority helps finish off low health Pokemon or Pokemon brought down to their Focus Sash. Also very important, most Flutter Main get KO'd by Flare Blitz plus Terra Water Aqua Jet. The item on Urshifu is the Focus Sash. This item was freed up after the Great Item Switch, but it was very important to beat Flutter Main. You see, normally Flutter Main can just Moonblast Urshifu before he moves, even when Urshifu is scarfed thanks to booster energy. But with the Focus Sash, Urshifu can suddenly tank a Moonblast and hit back with a very powerful KO on the Flutter Main, even if they hold a Focus Sash. It's also useful into Raging Bolt. Raging Bolt was often a problem for Urshifu if I couldn't block Thunderclap with Fake Out or Rage Powder, but having the Focus Sash allows Urshifu to still have at least one turn against Raging Bolt to hit its partner, which would often be weak to Urshifu. The Terra type on Urshifu is also very basic. Terra Water as a damage boost. There are a lot of Pokemon that are EV'd specifically for Surging Strikes, and with Terra Water, those EV spreads suddenly aren't as strong into Urshifu anymore. It's also very important to get a guaranteed KO into Incineroar and Flutter Main. Some Flutter Main are so bulky they are almost max HP and max defense, allowing them to have a chance to survive it, and Incineroar is just really bulky and can also train to be very physically bulky to survive Surging Strikes. It also boosts Aqua Jet, which is really strong since it would often be enough to finish off Pokemon in yellow HP. Since I'm holding the Focus Sash, the stats aren't very interesting. It's just max speed and max attack to maximize its offense. The nature is adamant to maximize my chance of a KO on these bulky Flutter Main. And because of Icy Wind on Flutter Main, I'm willing to drop a little bit of speed. Although with a speed boosting nature you guarantee outspeeding Smeargle, which is very nice, that's basically it. You might outspeed Ogerpon and Tornadus if they are not speed boosting natures, but you never know for sure, and I'm not willing to risk it. So I would rather know for sure I'm slower and play around it with a stronger Urshifu. It's nicknamed Pressure Washer because of the pressure it has thanks to Unseen Fist, and it would often clean up games thanks to Aqua Jet and the Focus Sash. It's very generic and simple, but this Urshifu set just worked really well. It did what I needed it to do, and I never really needed anything else from it. And that's the team that won the European International Championship. The reason I think this team is so strong is in large part because of how versatile it is. You have two completely different modes, from a bulk-oriented Perish Trap mode to a very strong meta-balance team with some of the best support in the game. And even the offensive pieces, Flutter Main and Urshifu, have defensive potential, like Terra Grass Flutter Main and the General Bulk, or Focus Sash on Urshifu. And even the support pieces Incineroar and Amoonguss have offensive potential, like Sludge Bomb on Amoonguss and Flare Blitz on Incineroar. Normally when you build a Perish Trap team, you just have to accept that the Pokemon you use aren't going to be very strong. But with this team, that was not the case at all. Although Gothitelle might not be the strongest Pokemon, Screamtail is an incredible Pokemon and an incredible user of the move Perish Song. Flutter Main and Urshifu are also just the best special and physical attackers in the format. And finally, Incineroar and Amoonguss are just the best support Pokemon in the format, which is exactly why I named this team Symphony No. 2. Built different. The first reason being that the Pokemon really are just built different. In general, I'm using some of the best Pokemon in the entire format. The second reason is that the team was also literally built different. I didn't intend to create a very strong balance core. I just wanted a Perish Trap team. But when I accidentally discovered these great sets on these broken Pokemon, I found what I needed to let a Perish Trap mode work on the team. And honestly, these are my favorite types of Perish Trap teams, where the Perish Trap mode is just a mode and not the entire team. The funny thing is, if you showed me the final version on day 1, I wouldn't have used it. I would change 2 sets. I would give Screamtail the Booster Energy, Flutter Main the Focus Sash, and Urshifu the Choice Scarf. I learned a lot about team building thanks to this team. The strongest teams don't always just come to mind. They have to be discovered through trial and error. And that's why this is one of my favorite teams of all time. The end.